This is Dr. Shauli MUKHERJEE, Director, School of Education and Dean, Student Affairs at Adamas University, Kolkata, West Bengal. Also the former founder principal of Adamas World School and STEM World School, the first STEM school in West Bengal. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the organizers for extending an invite to me to speak on this conference on the flexible learning during the educational disruption in the contemporary scenario and the way forward. I would like to state that the 21st century world is undoubtedly a VUCA world. And by that I mean it's a volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world where we are faced with unheard of challenges almost on a daily basis. Since the turn of the century, the chaotic, turbulent and rapidly changing environments in which we live have become the new normal. Exploding technological developments, dramatic demographic growth, immigration, ecological disasters, and geographical trends. They have all disrupted our lives at an ever-increasing pace and breadth. These circumstances, definitely accelerated by the global pandemic, have caused a major breakdown of order in almost all the organizations, and that definitely includes education as well as higher education. As the four VUCA components of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity interact with each other in chaotic and sometimes in conflicting manner. Now, in the months since the world had been embroiled in a global pandemic, there has been considerable debates, discussions, as well as dialogues regarding, the fact that about how higher education should both cope with its immediate threat while also considering pivots towards new models and innovations for the future. Thanks to the COVID times, which had actually caused major disruptions to our traditional thought patterns concerning education, and on the positive note had actually compelled all of us to think and act outside the box and to embrace considerable flexibility and adaptability and devise innovative and strategic methods to significantly address the emerging complexities concerning the sphere of education and higher education. Now, it is worthwhile to mention that traditional educational norms force our young learners to metaphorically color and draw within the lines. That is to conform, to comply, and to compete. Every learner is given the same amount of time to learn the same thing in the same way and preferably on the same day. So there is no wonder that the learners struggle a lot to realize their true potential. Now, considering the essential fact that the real world, beyond the confines of a fancy physical infrastructure of an educational institution, actually rewards those who can carve their own path and can think outside the box. Hence, in order to sustain and thrive in the 21st century, ever increasingly complex workforce, the learners have to be oriented more towards collaboration and cooperation rather than cutthroat competition. In order to address and challenge the emerging global complexities, we do not need mechanically trained minds loaded with facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. No, that is not what we require. What the world requires are minds which are capable of divergent thinking and out-of-the-box ideation. That is exactly what the world currently requires. And definitely there is an urgent need to prioritize on different skill sets such as critical thinking, effective communication, creativity, meaningful collaboration, analytical thinking, complex problem solving, effective and fast decision making, and at the same time nurturing one's emotional intelligence and also giving due importance to all the kinds of quotients, not only on the intelligence quotient. And by that I mean the creative quotient, the passion quotient, the happiness quotient, the spiritual and the social quotient, and most importantly, in the present context, the AQ, that is the adversity quotient. We have to realize the fact that we must allow our young learners more time, which they can effectively utilize in following their curiosity, in sharing, creating, exploring, and experimenting with their novel ideas and thoughts. As educators, we have to stop stigmatizing failures and mistakes. And we have to realize that both are essential components of an essential learning experience. If we truly want the present generation to evolve into creative problem solvers, we must give them ample scope to explore the three essential P's, and that is play, passion, and purpose. It is a potent combination of play, passion, and purpose that can actually make a person truly creative. And we must allow these creative minds to not only seek innovative solutions to the problems, but also to spot inherent problems in the existing solutions. I also believe that the learners should have the complete responsibility and ownership of their own learning. And in order to make that happen, they must have both choice as well as voice to determine and express what, where, and how they would want to learn. And in order to nurture such creative minds of our learners effectively, the education leaders, the educators, the educational policy makers, that is the entire educational fraternity, they all need to come together in order to redefine and reimagine their roles in driving this momentous shift towards empowering individual learners by maximizing their learning potential to ultimately evolve into self-motivated and lifelong learners. Both the educator as well as the learner, they have to wholeheartedly embrace the benefits of anytime and anywhere learning and have to stay committed to continuous learning, unlearning, and relearning across all the significant phases of their lives. In fact, one of the positive offshoots of the global pandemic happens to be the paradigm shift from teaching to learning when it comes to the educators, who we all presume would definitely continue to inspire, to motivate, to stimulate, and at the same time facilitate the love for lifelong learning among the learners and definitely among themselves. It is for all of us to realize now more than ever that teaching is not a mechanical task of knowledge transfer, of fact and content transfer from one to another. It is in fact the most creative and the most sophisticated profession which helps to enable the young learners to evolve into a more confident, more equipped, dynamic and authentic version of themselves. In conclusion, I would like to mention that we have already spent months doing something completely different, trying to create a new normal for us as well as for our young learners. Now, should we now go back to the old ways of doing things? After months of virtual interaction, to which our children have been exposed to, where almost at the click of a mere button, the entire world had sort of opened up in front of them, along with newer vistas of possibilities. Should our children be back now under the direct influence of an outdated education system? Should we again start teaching our children to draw and color within the lines and think and act inside the box? So if the answer to all these questions is a very big no, then we must wholeheartedly embrace the obvious benefits of the hybrid and blended teaching learning procedures in order to effectively sustain the new normal and thereby facilitate our young learners to thrive in the constantly emerging 21st century VUCA world. Thank you.